Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Tea with Rich. And this week, I'm excited to welcome Ethan Zohn to the podcast. Ethan, in addition to being a good friend of mine, which is enough, is a winner of Survivor Africa, two-time cancer survivor, founder of Grassroots Soccer, currently motivational speaker, and just a good dude in general. If you saw some of my NCAA posts the other week from the Final Four, Ethan was with me with a couple of other Survivor winners and players. So I want to welcome Ethan to the podcast, and super excited to break some things down and shoot the shit with him today. Thanks. His wife's a master interior decorator, so I'm sure that's all
See the
courtesy of
background. Look
Lisa.
at the lamp and everything. I mean, legit, I can see it.
Hold on, hold up your fancy microphone. Listen, don't go logo whoring now.
I'm not. This is my big break. I actually have a little tripod that would be better for my.
Your phone looks perfect, but okay. There was nothing wrong with how you had it.
Listen,
Stability.
does that look all right?
Yeah, the lamps are good. Curtains, he's got everything.
Or if
Frame.
is it better this way, or is it
No,
better?
it's not better. It's not better that way. Go back the way you were. You're fine. That's good. Stop playing with it. All right. So listen, you might. So all right.
I'm ready. You guys ready? I've been waiting for you.
Are you on wireless?
Yeah, I'm on wireless. Yes.
Okay, good. How you doing, Ethan?
Doing good. How are you guys doing? Thank you so much for having me.
I can't think of the last time I actually saw you because we usually just text. So
How does it feel? Do you feel a little uncomfortable seeing me face to face?
no, I missed you. The last time I saw you was in New York for the Grassroots Gala with Dylan Runny and I, and that was actually a good time.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, thank you for showing up to that. That's big time.
When was that? Oh,
That was December 1st, which is World AIDS Day. So celebrating the work that we do around HIV and AIDS.
That's awesome. We'll get to that too. I'm glad to have you on, bud. I appreciate you taking the time. And like I told you, we're pretty chill and shooting the shit. And then Ethan, this is a really good friend of mine, Rich. So Rich and I were actually in the same industry together, and we're competitors actually for a while. We weren't co-opetition. We were actually competitors. And Rich, you're in Mexico right now, right?
What?
Yeah, I'm down in Zihuatanejo. So, yeah, the weather's nice down here.
Fun. What are
Yeah,
you doing down there?
we've got a place down here that I guess we bought in like 2017, so pre-COVID. And then we would only come for like a couple weeks a year, but then COVID happened, and now we spend January, February, and March down here, so it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And are you like a New Hampshire guy too?
No, I'm in Chicago.
Nice.
Rich remember everyone asked me, like, why do I keep going to industry events? And I say, because 90% of my friends are scattered around the world. Rich is one of them. So I'm actually going to see Rich 2 weeks from yesterday.
Yeah.
We're going to golf in Vegas at an industry event, which is going to be
Fun.
So you're
Yeah,
home.
Who's the better golfer? Does it just for fun?
Billy Navar is the better golfer. He's basically, I think
Navar's
his
the master.
handicap, I think Billy's handicap is a plus. I don't even think he has a negative handicap. I think he's a positive handicap. And then Rich is the next best golfer of the group.
Wow. Impressive.
I'm not anywhere close to that. I'm like a 10, I think.
That's not bad. I mean, I'm not really a big golfer, but
That's fun.
I got to get into it. I really do.
Do you golf ever, Ethan?
Yeah, I golf ever, but it's not a priority. I don't put any time or energy into practicing it. So it's
I think the
pretty
important
gross when
thing
it
is who
happens.
you play with, right? If you play with people you like, then it's awesome. You get, 4 hours with good friends. That's the fun part.
Yes. Yeah, I'm
If you
down
play
for
with
that.
douches, then it's not so
Well, what's funny is Ethan's Rich. So Ethan's coming to the Final Four weekend with me.
Nice.
With Paul Broth is going to be there. Paul's going to drive from Austin, and then Ethan is bringing another Survivor winner who I've never met, Tyson Apostle, right?
Yep. Tyson, yeah. He won a season called Blood versus Water, which is interesting because you show up to the show with a loved one, whether that's a brother or a wife or a daughter or whatever that looks like. So Tyson showed up with his wife, who got voted off early, but he maintained and ended up winning the whole.
Are they still married?
Still married, yes. But they did go on a show called Marriage Boot Camp, which was another reality show after the win. So I don't know what that means.
I never want to put my marriage in front of cameras for the world to question. I think I have an amazing marriage. You guys both know my wife, so
Yeah.
and I know both of your wives, Ethan. You scored big. You outpunted your coverage for sure.
Totally. Yes. Took me a long time to discover Lisa, the name of my wife. But I finally found her, and now it's going pretty well so far. As long as I
I have
don't
a
fuck it
shirt.
up, I think
I
we're
have a
good.
shirt that says that. Outkick the coverage. I love that shirt. It's a great t-shirt.
Well, what's funny is we'll see if we actually get loose and relaxed enough for Ethan to tell the story of how him and Lisa met and their early interaction. Ethan, just real quick for anyone that doesn't know you, because I know you are Survivor '92 winner, right? Survivor Africa.
Survivor Africa, it was in 2002, not 92. I was graduating high school in 1992. Reality TV didn't even exist, but I'm sure you were thinking about it already because that's just the way you are.
Well, I was 22 in '92. I guess I'm just a little bit older than you. Survivor Africa, two-time cancer survivor. Circuit, right? I mean, I met you through the V Foundation. So Rich knows about the V Foundation because every time I come back, I talk about the auction items that I half recall, which Ethan is part of a couple of those stories.
Yep.
Actually met Ethan Rich at
And why do you half recall them?
because
He doesn't remember
I'm
the other half.
enjoying
Remember the other half.
I'm enjoying the environment so much that I just don't always remember the entire thing.
Yeah. Except I get a call like, could you remind me what auction I won last night? And I'm like, XYZ. And you're like, oh no, I forgot all that one.
Yeah. Well, that's why we're going to the NCAA.
Yes. The
And then
forgotten
Ethan, so
prize.
talking circuit, but then you run Grassroots, or you are a founding partner, but you're very involved in Grassroots Soccer right now as well, correct?
Exactly. Yeah, that's pretty much most of my time, my passion. I love everything we're doing with Grassroots Soccer, which is an adolescent health organization using the power of soccer to help kids make smarter choices in life all over the world.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And how often are you on the road speaking and shit? Because I feel like every time I talk to you, you're coming or going from somewhere.
Well, I try to speak a lot. I've been through some shit, and so I feel I'm gonna. Luckily, because of Survivor, I have a platform, so I'm speaking a bunch. I'm trying to do as many as I possibly can,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's fun. I like getting out there on the road and speaking.
So when you're doing a speaking engagement, I've seen you speak a couple of times. I've watched you obviously, and then I won you in an auction item. I saw you speak at that event as well, which we'll get back to that story at some point. I don't know if I've told Rich that story.
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
How do you have a fixed amount of time when you're speaking? Like how do you pick from the inventory of experiences? Like you're a Survivor winner, and then you've actually been on Survivor what, 3 or 4 times?
3 times, yeah.
Yeah. And you went on Survivor right after you got done treatment. I remember that whole thing. And then you've gone through a couple of massive cancer bouts and survived them to the luck of trials. I wouldn't say the luck, the goodness of trials, which I'm glad we actually met through the V Foundation and in the colon cancer event. But then you're doing grassroots soccer. So when you're out talking, is there a particular thing that people want to hear from you? Or how do you draw from all that inventory of kind of amazing and not amazing, but still amazing experiences? How do you pick what you're talking about?
Good question. A lot determines by who I'm speaking to and kind of who is bringing me into the mix. Like if it's a cancer event versus a soccer event for versus a motivational, inspirational type event. It changes. However, I'm one guy, I got one story. So I pick and choose the ones that kind of I feel will resonate best with the audience. And my overall just kind of philosophy in life is like never let a crisis go to waste because there's an opportunity to do some really important things. And so you said I've been through a lot of stuff, which is true. So usually what I do is whatever negative things that come my way, I accept it, I process it, and then I turn it outward to try to help those around me. And so in terms of picking stories, I tend to focus on the horrible moments in my life and how I turn those into a positive moment after that. And those are the stories I pretty much go with because it resonates with the audience. Everyone loves a survival story, a come from behind, and there's teaching moments in those. Whether I'm talking to a bunch of youth or C-suite execs, there's a lot of similar stories, and the through line resonates with anyone who's listening.
I love that. So do you like sit down and try and recount all these things? Like, do you have like an actual written down inventory of like how do you keep track of it all? Because I mean I've been with you a dozen times and you have fantastic stories every time, and I've heard you speak a couple of times and you're fantastic speaking too. I thought at Grassroots you lit the room up, and then obviously at the V Foundation at the dinner. Where were we? Were we at Nickel and Nickel? I forget where it was, but I'd
Yeah,
never
that was
seen you speak before, and you crushed it, right? And you're like me, you're actually able to blend cuss words into a good speech because there's a lot of meaning. But like, do you write the stuff down, or is it kind of come as you're speaking and doing these engagements?
No, for me, I'm a pretty scripted guy in the sense that, like, because often, like you said, sometimes I give in 12 minutes, sometimes I give in 25, 45. So, my cancer story can be 10 minutes if I got a long time to speak about it. If not, it's just got to be a one liner. So for me, I definitely have notes, and I, definitely kind of lean into whatever's in front of me. I just don't go for it. Like, that's just not my style. I wish I was, to be honest. I'm like a podium guy. I got my notes, and then I kind of look at them every so often. But there are a lot of stories, so like I'll stick to those stories that I pre-think about. But the question and answer session like this is fun because I feel nowadays like a traditional keynote speech is it's a little boring, it's a little stiff, you're behind a podium, maybe you got a PowerPoint, but when you have like an interaction with the audience, or it's a fireside chat or a question and answer only, you're just a little caught off guard. You get to think on your feet. You can just grasp from whatever makes sense in the moment. So I like both formats just the same.
It's amazing. So I
Do you guys
remember
do you do much public speaking? I know you've done speaking. I don't know about you, Rich.
I've done a lot of it. Rich, how about yeah, Rich? You actually have done quite a bit of public speaking as well.
Yeah, I do a lot of public speaking. I'm more like you, Ethan. I'm definitely a scripted guy, so I know what I want to say, but it gives me a little security to be able to look down. Obviously, I'm not reading it, but you know what I mean. I need the security of having something there just in case. And then you don't always have to look at it, but I do some speaking on sales, so a lot on business development, a lot on sales, on awareness, kind of developmental model that I use. Like, so I try to teach people about being more aware, just so you can make more choices. So, and then one of my maybe most emotional speeches was at my oldest daughter got married 2 years ago. And so that father of the bride speech is that's a big one. You would be
Yeah, it is.
surprised because it's like everyone and family, but there's so much emotion. And I'm a crier anyway. TJ knows that, but so you learn how to give a speech even though there's tears streaming down your face and you keep talking.
Yeah, that's fascinating. A couple of things you just mentioned resonate. One, the crying thing in a speech, what I've learned just for the future, not that your daughter's going to get married again, but as a speaker, obviously the audience is always on your side. They just want you to be a success. They want to have fun. So I found that if you almost cry versus actually crying, it lands better. So if you're up there and you fill up with tears and you pause and you're almost crying, the audience feels that more than if you actually go over the edge and tears stream down
They
your
feel
line.
the tension. That's cool. No, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. So like an almost cry with a long pause is like some of the best things you can do to an audience, right? To the
Well,
pause where they're like, oh my God, this guy forgot his lines. What's going on? Meanwhile, inside, I'm like, just a little longer, a little longer, a little longer. And then you go, boom, and you land it. And they're like, yeah, that's the best moment of the
that's
speech.
great.
Rich doesn't have the drawback on the emotional bow that he's
They just
carrying.
come. They
So
just come. I
How
mean, I
many
think,
times have you cried together, you two?
I have not cried once around
come
Rich.
on.
When
Come
have I?
on. We should
Hold
fix
on,
that.
On this
hold on.
podcast, you've teared up
When?
plenty of times.
Never.
Not even, get out of here. When we
No,
start
never.
talking about kids and stuff,
No, I have no, I have a technique that I literally, to what Ethan just said, I I will decide in a microsecond if I'm going to go down that road, because you guys do, everybody on here asks me questions, and we haven't, if you if you notice, Rich, we really haven't talked a lot about my kids and what I went through in 24 weekers. Like, we really haven't covered that, but I have to make a conscious decision to talk about it. That's why we don't talk about my brother either. But then I will very quickly pause and swallow and choke it down in an instant, and I will redirect all of you. And you never pick up on it ever. You've never once picked up on it. So Rich
I'm gonna have to
cries
look
every
back
third.
because
Hold on, Rich cries every third podcast.
pretty much. I'm gonna have to look back because I could swear that you have come to the edge. How about that?
Maybe
But
one
anyway, I'll
time,
look back. Doesn't
maybe
matter. Doesn't
maybe
matter.
it would be talking about my brother if I was able to. I mean, that was four
But tell
years
me
ago.
a little bit about your brother.
No, and no, we're not going there. I'm not
Turn it
even go.
right on.
Actually, I already told you about my brother and what I was. That
I've
was
seen you well up. I've seen you well up.
you have. And when I talked about my brother, the good news is we were walking next to each other in town here in Portsmouth. So Ethan actually, well, doesn't anymore, but Ethan lives in New Hampshire, like about an hour and a half from me, Rich,
That's
on the
not
other
cool.
side of the
Wow.
state. Yeah,
I
the
still
other
live there
side of the
part of the
state.
time.
You could hit an arrow over there, but no, I did talk to you, and I don't know if I told you, but that might have been the first time I actually talked that much and that long about my brother since he passed away. Actually, was with you, and it was me and you and Lisa and Shannon walking around town when you came for the day. But anyways, where are we going? Speaking and getting emotional and stuff like that.
But I mean, in terms of just in general life, people gravitate to those who are open, honest, authentic, empathetic. It draws people in and it creates better relationships. So moving forward, deflecting is a great strategy, but also it's good to let people in.
I let some people I let in. So
Okay.
and
We tried on the same day. Was it 2 years ago when we were at Shop Talk and we both got taken to the mat at
yeah,
lunch?
by a third party
By
and,
a third party.
separately. Yeah, because she asked me about my brother literally 2 months after he passed, and that crushed me. And I've written about it on LinkedIn, so anyone, all our 17 people that listen to this already know the story. Ethan, just masterful redirection to try and
Yeah,
get me to
very
dial
nice.
in on that.
Thank
So
you. Thank
I
you.
appreciate that.
Well,
Obviously,
I've been secretly texting Rich like we got to get him to cry. We're gonna get him to cry. Minute 32 was the tear. Yes, exactly. Right. Um, yeah, have you ever seen the show?
I never did. I'm
Rich,
not a big
treat
reality. I'm
yourself.
just not a reality TV guy. My
Listen,
daughters have.
someone who's in sales, and I'm not just saying this because you're on the phone. Survivor is one big 39-day sales and networking event. It's how you can sell yourself and your ideas to other people and get them to follow along enough so that when you vote them out, they come back and they give you $1 million. Right? That's the game, right? So to me, that's fascinating. It's a game that touches on every part of you as a human being, like mental, physical, social, spiritual, environmental, financial. So, and if you can like pull all the strings and be the guy that's leading those decisions, then
Cool.
it's a really like exciting and intricate and complicated game, right? You got to be friends with these people. Friendships based on trust. You can't trust anyone, right? So then how do you be the last man standing when you start with 20 people, right? So you got
Yeah,
to start with 20 people. You could be the last guy left. You need everyone here to help you get there, but you still need to vote them out and be the last guy there. If you don't can't get behind that, I think it would be a fun time for you to go back and watch. I mean, I'm a little biased, maybe season 3, season 8, season 40. I don't know. One of those 3 are the best.
absolutely. I'll
that
check
makes
it
me
out.
that makes me want to be on the show now.
I mean,
Don't
in
be on
business, you guys are business guys. Like, I'm sure there's aspects of what happens on the show Survivor that is completely parallel to what you guys have to deal with on a daily basis.
100%. It's the art of the deal, right? And you have to wake up and go to bed with these people. So there's actually no escaping your bullshit. You have to be so consistently manipulative yet feel truthful that there's no hiding. It's the ultimate game. So let's pivot on that question a little
Sure.
bit because the last few seasons, I mean, we've got a shortened season and a lot of unprepared humans.
It's a good way to put it.
I don't
Yeah.
I don't want to be overly mean, but like I feel like the show is morphed into a psychotherapy session, and it's not as long and it's not as hard and it's not as bad and it's not as in shitty environments, and the people are like fucking baby food. You know, not all of them. Some of them are savages, but you know, it's literally, you know, it's been interesting. How is it as like a super fan and an OG from season 3, like watching the metamorphosis? Now, I know you and I talked about what Jeff wants and that type of stuff, but like, can you watch it, or do you like go nuts and fast forward through it? Because I fast forward through it now.
Yeah. I mean, you are spot on with your analysis. Uh, Old school Survivor is a traditional form of the show Survivor. I tend to gravitate towards that style of play. So the way I say, I always say it's not better or worse now, it's just different. It's completely different. Everyone that plays the game is a student of the game. Everyone who is on the show is a super fan. I've been watching since season 1. And everyone on the show these days was pretty much born in a world where Survivor existed. So, like, they have time to study and prepare and analyze and create challenges in their backyard to train. It's almost become an athletic sport where you can train to try to get on the show Survivor. So, whether that's good or bad, I don't know. The game's evolved into a form that's a little bit unrecognizable to what it started is. There's very little survival. It's a shorter game. There's lots of ways to get through the game without actually winning challenges. There's clues, there's idols, there's advantages, disadvantages, ways to get into the game. There's a currency in one season, right? So the people that they tend to be casting now, whether they're unprepared or not, they just tend to be a little bit more strategic. Like when I played, it was all about like strong, keep the strong, get rid of the weak. Now it's get rid of the strong, keep the weak, keep the people who are good at puzzles and strategy and gameplay versus survival and challenges. That's the way I see it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's no lions and tigers circling their encampment anymore, like you guys had went through.
Yes. There was
Before.
a real threat to death out there, which was both exciting and fearful at the same time.
A lot of people don't know. And so you got on the show, you were a professor. So, in addition to being on Survivor 3 times, being a speaker, going through cancer brutally twice, and we'll get to a few of those stories. And, you know, grassroots soccer, prior to all of that, you know, your tie to soccer goes all the way back to that you were a professional soccer player before you got on the show and after you were on the show, I would assume.
Not after I got on the show, but before I got on the show, yeah. So, played soccer my whole life. After college, I actually didn't have intentions to play professional soccer after college. I was pre-med, bio major with a minor in marine biology. So in my brilliant mind, I'm like, let's move to Hawaii. There's a lot of water there. I'm bound to find a job. Didn't happen. I ended up cleaning toilets and making bed in a youth hostel. And there was an advertisement in a local newspaper, and I was living in Waikiki. And it was like open tryouts for a new professional soccer team called the Hawaii Tsunami. And I'm like, great. So I went down to open tryouts and I made it as a walk-on. And I'm like, screw med school. I'm going to play soccer for the rest of my life. So yeah, then I played for the Hawaii Tsunami, the Cape Cod Crusaders, the Boston Bulldogs, and I played for a year in the Zimbabwe Premier League
Wow.
over in
Was
Bulawayo,
it
Zimbabwe.
goalie? Did you always play goalie or different
I
position?
always played goalie.
Wow.
Yeah. I basically have been 5'10" with a mustache since 6th grade. So they just shoved me in goal because I was the tallest kid, and everyone has just since caught up to me since then. And the novelty wore off after a while. But I was good enough to kind of make a go at it, I guess.
That's awesome. Yeah, 5'10's not big for a goalie. Now you see those dudes with this huge arm span and stuff. So you had to be fast and very quick reflexed, I'm assuming.
I was in a really lucky and interesting time in the trajectory of soccer in the United States. So 1994, the World Cup was in the USA. They launched MLS, Major League Soccer, in 1996. So, like, all the great players that were playing in like the semi-professional got drafted to go pro, which left a giant void for like, short white Jewish soccer goalies to like get a role on a team. So like I fit right in a weird time in soccer, and it was good for me. And it was the time where there was this goalkeeper named Jorge Campos who played for Mexico, and he just happened to be he was 5'7". He was great with his feet. He was a unicorn of a goalkeeper. So then there's this trend where goalkeepers that are good playing with their feet and their hands tended to kind of, rise to the top a little bit more. So the whole sweeper keeper, where I was coming out of the box playing with my feet a little bit more, was a trend at the time. So I filled that role.
That's cool. That's very
Yeah,
cool.
it's pretty fun.
What was your tryouts to get on Survivor like? Like, how did that? How did that?
So getting on Trials for Survivor, it was kind of towards the tail end of my playing career. And I was like living on a couch in New York City and unemployed. I told my mom I was in between life choices, but I was really unemployed. And we were like, what do you want to do today? My roommates, I'm like, we're so bored and nothing to do. So we're like, let's just make a video for Survivor. And there may or may not have been some alcohol and weed involved, but we're like, let's make a video for Survivor. We had like giant camera, VHS tapes, and we ran around New York City making a video. And we made a video. Do you remember the movie Being John Malkovich by any chance
Yeah.
from way back in the day?
Yes. That's
So we did
creepy.
Being Ethan Zohn. And I basically found a portal into my own head. And then I popped out, and everyone I saw was me. So, like, I went and ran, tried to get on the bus. I was the bus driver. I went and bought a New York City hot dog. I was the hot dog guy. I went and took a shot in soccer, and I was the goalkeeper. So, like, that was my whole theme. And he sent in the video. And I was supposed to make a video for my friend. My friend was supposed to video for me. And we ran out of time for my buddy. And so we only sent in my tape to Survivor. And then I got on. So it was this like whole big thing. But that's kind of how I got on.
That's pretty
It was like a
amazing.
joke. Like, you never think it's going to be you. We were just
That's
bored.
awesome.
I have a good buddy here in New Hampshire that made it on, and guy he's a savage. Was a tree guy, so he's basically wearing a harness and taking trees down. I think he eventually called it Freebird Tree, and he owned a local MMA organization, and he had to go in for that super rigorous physical and pass the physical. And luckily, thank God, he never ended up going on the show. They found testicular cancer when he went in for the physical.
No way. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. This really good buddy. Hopefully, he listens to this someday. He's not really a podcast guy, but Dave George, who also happened to own an MMA organization. But yeah, he got accepted. He's an animal. He was like Ozzy, but more manly, like sort of a more manly version of Ozzy. But athlete, good looking kid, just super bright, knew a lot of stuff. Good communicator, good networker, and yeah, he got diagnosed with testicular cancer, and it was advanced, and he literally was an inpatient and in the hospital, and he filmed his entire journey. He refused to give up. He refused to lay in bed. He refused to let the chemo bother him and the radiation. He'd sneak down to the hallways with a buddy that would sneak in with gloves and pads, and he would box and train, and then he wrote a book called The Year It All Made Sense, and he was
The
trying to
year it
shoot.
all made sense. I'm going to check that out.
Yeah, The Year It All Made Sense. His name is David George. Good dude.
He beat it. He's still okay.
Yeah, 100%. Actually, I just talked to him yesterday. He's an artist now, and he actually went hunting, and he brought a giant alligator hide over here about a month ago that he wants me to make some stuff out of, like the biggest hide I've ever seen. And he did it in like a sort of a bourbon peanut sort of glaze.
And
Anyway,
he hunted the alligator himself.
correct. Shot it and then had it tanned, and then he knows I do leather, so he brought it over here. I have to figure out what to do with it. It's literally like a 12 or 14 foot long hide. It's massive. Like you got to make big shit out of it. But so
Chats.
honestly, getting accepted to a Survivor saved his life. Unfortunately, he didn't get back on, and I think he had a chance to try out again. I think when he got healthy, was a good story, and
Yeah.
and then I think for some reason he decided not to do it. He's actually modeling and like doing local acting and stuff now. Good, super good dude. But and now he's an artist. So you get on Survivor, you win, it's awesome. You probably fuck off for a year, piss through most of your money. Grassroots, that literally kind of happened to you while you had won a reward on Survivor and had been. Tell this story about kind of the
Sure.
genesis of Grassroots, because that felt like a big change in kind of your life and your ethos and how you looked at things.
Definitely. And thanks for asking the question. But, like I said, before Survivor, I lived and played pro soccer in Zimbabwe. And while I was there, a couple of my teammates, as I trained with every single day, got sick with HIV, kicked off the team, ostracized from the community, and just kind of lived the end of their life in a really sad and lonely way. So obviously we saw what was going on, but a 27-year-old kid, what can one person do to help his all of huge problem in all of Africa? So we didn't do anything. Went on Survivor. And then while I was on the show Survivor, and this is what you're mentioning, I won a reward challenge where I won these 2 goats, which I was so happy about. But I got to take these goats to this little village of Wamba. And before I left this village of Wamba, I was hanging out in the parking lot of Wamba Hospital. and all these little Kenyan children came out and they were touching my white skin and playing with my Jufro, like they had never seen anyone like me before. And so I busted out a little hacky sack, a little mini soccer ball, because at that time we were allowed to bring a luxury item, and a luxury item was one item you're allowed to bring from home that reminds you of your life away from the game of Survivor. So I brought a soccer. I wanted to bring a soccer ball, but they said you can't, so they gave me a hacky sack. So I started playing hacky sack with these kids, and we're smiling and laughing and connecting to the sport that we both love, and a language that we understand. And so I asked one of the nurses before I left the parking lot, like, why are all these kids just hanging out in the parking lot of a hospital? She looked at me and she says, these are the kids that are HIV positive. So, like, here I was in the middle of this game of Survivor, and I had that real life experience. So it was at that moment that literally changed my life forever. I'm like, okay, shit, if I freaking win this money and things go my way, I'm going to use that money to do something good with soccer and kids and stuff like that. So got off the show, and then I donated the money to start Grassroots Soccer. So I didn't fuck off for as long as I wanted to, but I did fuck off a little bit.
I think grassrootssoccer.org is the URL, correct?
Grassrootsoccer.org. Thank you.
Grassrootssoccer.org. And Dylan Runny and I, Rich, went to their annual gala. It was supposed to be Shannon and I, but the date moved a little bit, and it was awesome. And then I just got the invite for the London gala this year, right?
Yeah,
And
if
is
you want to
that
come, you're welcome to come.
When is it actually?
The London Gala is, I think, around December 3rd, I want to say, in London. December 1st is always World AIDS Day, so we try to do it in and around that time. So we
I love
switch
London.
London, USA.
Yeah, I'll have to get some information on it.
Yeah, I would
We
love
should
to
go,
send it to you.
TJ.
Yeah, we thought about going last year, but I think we already had something pre-planned in December for London, and then so we committed to go this year, and then the date got moved last minute because the U.S. women's gold medal team couldn't go to the original date, so we moved it back a couple of days. And my plus one ended up being Dylan Runny, which was good. We represented well.
You definitely did. Thank you for that.
We didn't V Foundation represent, but we got a
You won.
decade.
You won a lot of things, right? That's what I
I
always tell
bought
my wife, and she's always like, "You didn't win. You just paid them." I'm like, "No, I won. I won."
Well, Dylan got an item. Dylan actually got a Paris Fashion Week, and that was last week. So he did that last week.
Oh, how'd it go? I want to talk to him. That's
It
good
was
to know.
awesome. He posted quite a bit of pictures. It was cool. He's there with B. And Ethan knows Dylan because we were at Sonoma Epicurean all together, and B and Manili, and we're all going to be at Amangiri in April. Another auction item I won. Dylan's like, yeah, we get out and it's like paparazzi crazy. He's like, I'm like, B, follow my lead and just go with me. So he gets out and the paparazzi are going nuts because as soon as you get out, it's the red carpet right there. So, like he would full Zoolander, he's like, I might be on the cover. He goes, I might be in a magazine. He goes, I think I pulled it off pretty good.
That's
So,
great.
which is cool, but he loved it. And then I bought the dinner with Samuelson and you and the soccer
So
game
that's
and
right.
the yeah. They keep trying to pick a date for me, and I'm like, no, 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 no. I'll pick the date. And she's like, well, how is like because they wanted me to come on Friday to the opening of New York FC. And I was like, I can't do that. And so I got to go read what I won because they're like, is it just you and Ethan? I'm like, I gotta go read it because I'm pretty sure I
I
get a
think it's
guess
4
and
tickets.
Ethan gets a guess. Yeah, we'll get it figured out. But that was our contribution, and I saw him when he premiered on Iron Chef and actually won and
Marcus
won.
Samuelson,
Yeah, and he won his Iron Chef apron, which was amazing. So the dude's a legend, and
legend. Super soccer fan too. I think he's like Swiss Ethiopian or something. So
yeah.
really interesting background.
I think it'll be awesome to go down with you, do dinner with him, and then go see a game. I'd like it all to be clustered together instead of splitting everything up.
Yeah, we can do that.
So you're on Survivor, you win, you get off.
Yeah.
Then I'm watching Survivor a season or two or three later. I don't remember how many seasons. And Jeff Probst comes on and announces that you're sick and is kind of doing a raise for you.
That's many years later. So
Yeah.
as a
So
timeline
what
went,
what was yeah? Tell me about that kind of distance and when you first got diagnosed.
sure. Timeline is so 2002 was Survivor Africa. 2004 was Survivor All Star. That was the one that Boston Rob and Amber kind of won together. And then I was diagnosed in 2009. So, but yeah, so when I was diagnosed, Jeff was nice enough because we created a partnership between Survivor, the TV show, and Stand Up to Cancer, the cancer research organization, where we auctioned off all the props from Survivor to raise money for cancer research. So that was kind of a fun initiative we did. So came on, Jeff told the world about that. And then ever since that moment, I was, just obviously struggling to survive and stay alive. And I remember being in the hospital room when season 20, Heroes versus Villains, came on, which was a returning season, which I would have been invited to, but I was in my hospital room watching all my friends play Survivor on TV. And I said to myself, if I get out of this fucking stem cell transplant alive, I'm going to get myself strong enough and healthy enough to go out there and play again. And that took me about 10 years to do, till I felt where I was in a place where I could actually go out there and suffer as much as I did through cancer. So yeah, it took me 10 years. So then 2020 was when Survivor season 40 premiered, which is called Winners at War.
That was only 5 years ago.
Tell me about it. I know.
Holy cow.
Crazy. Yeah.
Well, I remember Lisa so Lisa is Ethan's wife, Rich. I remember Lisa telling the story, or Ethan's telling me the story about how like Lisa's worried about Ethan being on. And she's like trying to get a message to Jeff, like, he doesn't look good. Can you give him a pillow? He's not, he shouldn't have gone on. And everyone's like, hey, like Ethan's wife keeps calling Jeff, like, you need to talk to him. He's like, all right, what do you want? And he's like, can you please give him like a blanket and a pillow? That's a true story though, right, Ethan?
True story. The funny part about that is, so like every season of Survivor, they have a family visit. So they fly all the families to Fiji. And then Lisa comes and actually sees me. She hadn't seen me in 30 days. And I'm 30 pounds lighter. The first thing I said to her, I'm like, this is worse than cancer. I pissed myself, and I'm friends with Boston Rob. And she's like totally shell shocked. And then they give you 2 hours and they whisk them away. But we never had the conversation of like, do you want to leave? Like, are you strong enough to make it through? So then she's back at like her fancy hotel, just like obsessing about, oh my God, maybe he wanted to leave, but he doesn't want to quit. And so then she's trying to get a note to Jeff Probst. And she's like, can you just give him some pillows and blankets? Unbeknownst to me, like I didn't know because we don't have any communication. And then finally, Jeff, after one tribal council, pulled me aside as we're leaving tribal council. Like, I just want to let you know what's happening. Your wife is very concerned about your health. And I'm like, oh no. And so it ended up being okay. And obviously, I did not want to quit, and I did not want to be pulled from the game by any means possible. But it was the right call by Lisa because she didn't know. Like, she's like, you do not know how far Ethan will push himself. He will push himself to the detriment of himself so he can kind of be that person to have cancer and get through Survivor, because that's kind of the message he wants to send, which she was right. I did push myself until I passed out on a challenge. So she's right about that.
Or did you regret doing it?
Survivor? No, I don't regret Survivor Winners of War at all. No, no. It was tough. It's different when you play when you're 27 versus when you're 46. It's just a different game. Like, I give so much credit to all those folks that played in their 40s, 50s, 60s. I can't even believe how they did that. Insane.
When are we going to see you on Big Brother?
I think the new shows out there, and Rich, if you want to start watching reality TV, the new show Traders is a really nice new format. I'm interested in playing Traders. There's a kind of a fun game called Deal or No Deal Island out there, which is like Deal or No Deal combined with Survivor. So those are the kind of two formats that I'm
I
interested in.
saw
I'm
like a
sick
new
of
one. I saw just a commercial where the family could pull the plug on you kind of thing.
Extraction. That looks
Yeah.
so cool. TJ, you would love this one.
Like the family could
Basically,
decide and pull the plug on you. I was like, wow, that's intense.
yes.
My
It's like
family.
Hunger Games. Like, that
Yeah.
there's families are in a studio while the contestants are out in the wilderness with cameras everywhere, like 800 cameras everywhere. So it's like a controlled, semi-controlled environment. And then they have to complete challenges and suffer and really difficult things. So the family is watching their family members struggle. Maybe they're starving, they're cold, they can't complete something, and they can press a button and get them out of there at any moment, but they'll lose the money. So like, and then the families are competing for challenges, because if they win a challenges in the studio, they can send it into the person in the game, like a meal or a jacket or something. So it gets really complicated because like I wouldn't want to be pulled, but if my family sees me suffering, they might pull me.
That's
What do you guys
interesting.
think you would do out there in a survival situation?
I don't know. I mean, I've always been a survivor, but those are unusually brutal conditions, right? And I don't know. Like, I would be worried about that. I'd be worried about making it through Big Brother. But, all my friends think I should try one or both of them. But,
Yeah, I do too.
I don't know. You don't know. You don't know how you're going to react to that stuff. Those that think they're going to be fine aren't. And those that live in perpetual fright always seem to make it to the end. It's really amazing that what you see is those that statistically or historically you would think wouldn't make it very far actually go the furthest, and those that seem like they could sweep don't get far at their own demise, actually, more often than not. It's not like somebody takes them out. That's obviously a percentage of it. You go in there with too strong of a head, and you essentially defeat yourself, I think. So
Yeah, I think one of the beauties of the game is, well, I always encourage folks that go out there to know yourself, because like the better you know what you're good at and how other people respond to you, the better you can form alliances with people that may or may not share the same similarities, right? Survivor Africa, like I'm not a traditional like A-type personality, stand up, bark orders, be the center of attention guy. That's just not my vibe. So I knew I needed to align with people that did fill that role. And so like I felt comfortable in like the assistant coach role out there. So I aligned with a guy that loves to be the head coach, this guy named Lex. And what ended up happening is Lex would complain to me about all the other tribe mates. All the tribe mates would complain to me about Lex. And I just filtered that information and spit it out how I wanted to get myself ahead in the game. And that was just a really sweet spot for me.
That's
that's
cool.
awesome. So what's filling your time these days, Eth? I know you and I text usually 6 to 6:30 in the morning, and or a little. The other night she's like, "Who the fuck's texting you at 10:30?" 10:30. I go, "I think it's Mason," which is one of my kids, because he always texts me good night. But then the second text comes in, and then the third text comes in, and I think that's probably Ethan. So I'm like, dude, because
Sorry,
my
I got to
phone's
remember
on.
that.
Because if anyone ever is in trouble and they need to make a call, because I've had to do it, right? I always keep my phone on at night, and most of my friends know that I'm not up at 10:30 or 11, unless I'm traveling. And then there's usually evidence. If you see me posting on Instagram, you know where I am. Rich has seen this.
Dude, I do the do not disturb all day long. But I mean, if someone can get through that though, if they're in your favorites, they can get through it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Rich, you've probably never had to call somebody at 12:20 in the evening or in the morning and pray they come get you, so you don't have to spend a night on a concrete bed eating
Yeah.
microwave sandwiches.
Not in
And
a long time. Not in a
I've
long.
done that. I've done that enough to appreciate the guy that answers, and I never want to not be the person, because they'll let you call as many people. I've literally had people I've known forever like just ignore the call. And one person,
Have you gotten the call? Have you gotten the call that you're waiting for yet?
no, no, no. I hope never to. But I have one person has always answered the call. One person, and it's happened enough times where I hold him in the highest of regards. But which
What
is
was
the
the call that
guy
you called him for?
I have involuntarily detained for undisclosed reasons, many of which there were many. And I need a ride home. I've been deemed unable to pilot the apparatus that I arrived in. And the one guy that picks up every time, no matter when, is the guy that's been my guru, my trainer for martial arts for the last 16 years, is Guy Chase. Guy Chase always answers the phone, no matter what. And he's the last call I make, because I don't want to do that to him, because I kind of hold him on a pedestal. It's the last phone call, and he always answers, and he always comes and gets me, like always. So
Or
yeah.
Rich, do you got a guy? Do you got a guy at speed dial, or is that TJ?
I, yeah, I might call TJ to be honest. I stopped drinking. I don't know, 31 years ago. So that kept me out of trouble for the last 31 years. At least that kind of trouble.
Yeah.
TJ gets me in trouble, like tattoo trouble, things like that. You know, got my first tattoo with him, and
Did you?
I got
What is
my
it?
sleeve
Where?
with him, and
Came to
work.
Dover. He flew
Yeah,
into Pease and
Wait,
went to Dover.
you got a
Yeah.
New Hampshire tattoo?
100%, 100%.
Where's Peach?
Now Dover by Rutland.
Oh, Dover. Yeah,
A
yeah.
guy that everyone thinks is my brother. I did a video of Rut Tattoo and Rich, and everyone's like, "I didn't know you did tattoos." Like, that's not me, dude.
Yeah, Rutland.
Does it say
He did a great.
Pixar here or anything?
No,
Yeah,
he does. Actually, he's got his business on his arm.
Nice.
I have
Well, his
mine business.
entire his entire back and his whole left arm and upper chest are all tattooed.
Wow.
He went from clean shaven and bald to bearded and fucking
I tried to
20 times
become
more
like
tattoos than
TJ.
me.
That's what you don't know. I mean, we were like the antichrist of each other in the industry, and everyone's like,
Yeah.
Rich is all clean cut, and TJ's a maniac. And so then I'm like, I'm gonna be like TJ, right? I grew my beard out, get my tattoo. Like everyone, we were in this partner advisory board, and everyone's wanted to go with me and TJ to see me get a tattoo. Like
In
That's
we were
Vegas.
in
incredible.
Vegas. Yeah, we were in Vegas, and TJ's like, no, you're not getting a tattoo in Vegas. He's like, fly out to Portsmouth and we'll go visit Rut. And we went and saw him. It was awesome.
Was that your first tattoo, literally?
Yeah,
Or no?
I was gonna get a small one on my kind of shoulder blade. And so we had a picture and TJ helped design it. And then I came home with a big Ganesh
No way.
on my whole back. Yeah, it was awesome. I love it though. I totally love it.
Oh, that's
And then we
incredible.
proceeded into like, this is like 4 days, 8-hour days to do all this. So,
That's
it was
insane.
awesome.
Yeah, Lisa and I have been talking about a tattoo, like kind of like I'm not saying it would match, but it would be similar vibe as each other. I don't have any tattoos, but I'm open to it now in my later years.
TJ's got a good guy.
You
He's got to
later.
go to Dover.
You just turned 50. We're all 5 years apart, basically. So
And I
this is
think,
the continuum.
this is what I have to look forward to.
I turned
Yes.
60 this year. Yeah, in May. I turned 60.
That's mad.
Yeah, so
You know,
big.
when you
That's a
turn
big deal.
60, it's the first day of your 61st year, though, right?
I
So
know.
you'll actually be 61 on your birthday.
I do know that. But I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good. I'm still waiting for the call when we're adding to our tattoo. Like we are adding a match, you said.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
Okay.
You know what? I've just been lazy here. It's been cold. It's actually been nice out the last couple of days, but I've just been lazy about it. And in hindsight, I probably should have coordinated something while we were in Vegas because we probably could have banged a bunch of them out because they're going to be small anyway. But there's a group of us that are going to get a tattoo, the logo of the e-commerce software that the platform we all represented. I think
What
there's
is
like
it called?
it used to be called Demandware. It looks like a little on-off button, a digital on-off button,
Oh,
before anybody came up with that button. But Ethan, so you mentioned earlier talking about Lisa that you got married pretty late. How old were you when you got married?
I got married when I was 42, maybe?
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, 2016.
I was 52.
But you guys are both late. You can't compare. I was 25.
Man. Are you still married?
Yeah, 35 years
Incredible.
this year. Yeah.
Wow. That is
Yeah, and two
awesome.
daughters. Yeah, your daughters, what is it, 20, what are they, 25 and 28 now?
28 and 26. Yeah, close.
Hey,
You're right on.
pretty close.
Are
No,
you
really
a
close.
granddad yet?
No, not yet. My oldest has been married for 2 years. She's on a plan. She's a planner. So sometime in the next couple years, they'll start trying. But she works and likes her job. And so we're very happy. Yeah.
Have they visited you in Mexico?
A lot. Actually, she got married here. So we had our wedding here in Mexico. It was like a dream wedding. So it was all. So now our youngest, then that's going to be the challenge, what she does, right?
Right.
The
You're gonna
younger
have to
one,
get buy a new place in Belize or something.
she wants to like get married in Ireland or something, right? We'll do something different
She should elope and then just have a party in Chicago.
and just take the cash. She might do that. We'll see.
No cash. You spent it all on
Right, the first one.
No, she would take the cash. You've met my daughter.
yeah, 100%. Be like, I spent it all on your sister. I never thought you'd get married.
Right.
I hope she listens and I hope she hears that comment.
That'll go over
She'll
well.
be like that. She'll call bullshit on that in like a minute.
Oh yeah. Well, she might DM me on Instagram or something and be like, what the fuck are you saying to my dad? Stop that. So, so Ethan, so you've been married for 8 years.
2016, almost 10 years.
Yeah, 9 years. Yeah.
And next year's our 10-year anniversary, which we think we want to organize a trip to Africa to go on safari with a bunch of other couples. You guys are very welcome to go. That isn't an open invite to everyone listening, but for you two on the call, definitely
Safari's
you guys come to.
Rich did a safari when he sold, right? You did a big ass safari, didn't you? Like a big
when my
bougie one?
Yeah, when my daughter graduated, so it would have been 18, I guess. We did a safari. It was amazing. It was like, I mean, one of those bucket list trips for sure. So we went, actually, my mom went and her husband and my sister and my three nieces and my wife and I and my two kids. It was great. We had an
Do you remember
amazing,
what country you were in?
we did South Africa. We did two different parks. South Africa, and I can't remember the other one.
Both in South Africa. Yeah, I mean, South Africa's got great safaris.
Yeah.
Kruger National Park is one of the bigger
We were
parks there. But
outside of Kruger, so we weren't in Kruger, but
okay,
like
nice.
next to it kind of thing. And we started off in like the tents, like the tented camp, permanent tents. But like they walk you to your tent and zip you in and be like, don't fucking leave, don't bring food in. Like you hear animals like right outside your tent. Like if they don't see the tent, like if you don't have food, they don't want to go in there. But they're just like, don't come out, we'll come get you in the morning, like that kind of thing. And then
Fuck that.
no,
No,
it's
it's cool, man.
No,
serious.
the
It's
fuck.
super cool.
It's a fucking
No,
tent.
no,
It's a
you hear them
tent.
walking through. You hear animals. You hear hippos making. You hear lions growling. I mean,
Yeah.
unbelievable. And then the second week, we were in like kind of a big house that
Okay.
was on a park as well. But I mean, it's an amazing experience. You go out in the morning and then you come back and then you go out in the evening. I mean, we saw all the big animals. I mean, it's incredible. Like I framed and blew up some pictures. I like photography. I mean, they're amazing.
Yeah, they're so great. Total bucket list item. Yeah, so TJ plan for that now. Summer
Well, that's
2026.
she doesn't listen to these, thank God. I think you already told Shannon you want to do a safari for your tent because that's like a top 5 thing for her. Like she wants to do a safari. She literally said, "Well, I'll just go with a friend." I was like, "The fuck you will." Like
I'm that friend,
I would
Do you want to
I might
come on our trip?
I might go with other couples actually. I might be able to be convinced to do that. When is your 10th anniversary next year? Are you going to do it
In
next year or
theory,
the
it's
year?
August of 2026.
So that will
Ceremoniously we'll go when the weather's right.
Okay. We might actually be interested in that. I could surprise her. And because I don't know if I told you, but I planned the whole honeymoon as a 3-week honeymoon. She didn't know till like 4 days before we got married what we were even doing.
I would shoot you if you did that to me.
Why?
Like a surprise 3-week vacation.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah,
not a
that's
big
incredible.
surprise person
I'm
either.
not a surprise guy.
Oh,
Pass.
you're not? Oh.
Not really.
If I had told, so here's the thing
Not
when
big
we,
surprises like that, like not huge ones. Like I had a girlfriend that surprised me with skydiving for my birthday. That's something I need to plan for. I need to call people. I need to have like insurance. Like, and we went out partied the night before, so I was totally hungover. And a limo pulls up at like 6 a.m. and I'm like, not happening. I'm like, turn this thing around. And I'm like, that's a surprise that you don't surprise people with skydiving. But anyway, go on. Sorry.
oh my God, I love that. Well, no, she's a planner. So the problem is if she knew where the honeymoon was, every 3 hours of every day would be planned. Like we went on this Ritz-Carlton cruise. I don't know how she did it, but like she knew because I've never been on a cruise before. And of course, it's a super bougie one. Like everywhere we landed, she finds like a fucking Michelin starred restaurant. So when she actually knows where we're going, like she literally like, all right, she knows we went to a Michelin star restaurant for fucking lunch. Okay. Like literally. And it was a 6-hour lunch. Thank
Oh,
God we
geez.
went for lunch. So no, she like does all the research. That's what she loves. So when she knows where we're going, she like
Right.
does all the recon shit. Like I do the easy part. I pick when and where we're going, and then she's like a research assistant. She's just in there picking everything, and she's got the list, and she'll literally wait. She's on the cancellation list for every restaurant in every city, and she's like, "Hey, do you want to?" And I'm like, "Holy fuck!" So we did. We ate. So on a 10-day cruise, we
Oh,
ate.
man.
We had 6 Michelin restaurant meals in 6 different. And hold on, in 6 different of the 9 locations we were in. I'm like,
That
oh
seems like a
my!
dream.
How much
It
weight
was
did you gain?
cool.
I would gain weight. I'd
Yeah.
come back 15 pounds heavier.
I put on, I put on 6 pounds we were gone for 16 or 17 days all told, but I only put on 8 pounds, 6 or 8 pounds the entire time. Well, we took off for a week for my birthday. We went to Puerto Rico and Dorado and gained 0 weight in 7 days in Puerto Rico. Yeah.
You must have
Yeah.
worked out though. You must have gotten on the gym.
It's called meth, which works
No, no,
really.
no, 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 no. It's food. Listen, 80% it's food. 80% of your health it's nutrition. You can't outwork bad eating. You just can't. Like no matter what. Speaking of bad eating and weight, Ethan. So since you've been on Survivor, Lisa always told me that you guys all get on the phone and fucking obsess about food and weight. Still,
Yes, yes, we do. We do. Survivor, you are in fight or flight 24 hours a day for 39 days straight. And your total system is totally messed up. And obviously, they starve you out there. We average less than 200 calories a day for 39 days. And so, yeah, I lost the first time, 32 pounds in 30 days, the second time, 22 pounds in 21 days. And the last time I lost 30 pounds in 35 days. And so, yeah, like half the time when you're out there, like there's really not much to do. So you just sit around and like plan your meals for when you're going to get out of the show. And you go like, if there's 16 of us, you go person to person to person. And it would be breakfast, lunch, dinner with your snacks and a midnight, late night snack. You plan the whole day and it takes like an hour for each person and it's something to do. But you obsess and then you call people when you're back. What'd you eat today? What'd you eat today? Look at this, sending pictures and everything. It's insane.
for real. They never
For real.
show. I don't think I've ever seen that storyline covered on the show.
So when you're voted off, you go to this place called Ponderosa, which is a resort in Fiji, a little bit of a rundown resort in Fiji, but there's food and there's showers. That's pretty much all you matter. And so you have time there there's about 3 or 4 days, depending on when you get voted off before you get to go home. And everyone is just all day, every day, just feasting and chowing and throwing up and getting constipation. And it's horrible, but incredible at the same.
Well, what's funny is when someone gets voted off, they plump up pretty fucking quick when they get to the jury. Like they come on the jury the next day or two. No, what is it? It's usually 2 or 3 days. And they look like a different human. And then you get to the finale and you're like, I don't even recognize this person. Like they ate their firstborn or something.
What's the longest you guys have gone without eating, you think?
Me? 3 days.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
I do
That's good.
fasting, so I do water fasting pretty pretty periodically. So I've done, I don't know, 10 days straight water. I've done a
That's
lot of
impressive.
7 days just water. I mean, you do lose a lot of muscle. That's the problem. Like I still work out and stuff, but I feel great. I mean, but I think it's that 3 day, like if you can do 3 days of water, just water, then your body really starts to heal itself. So that's kind of why I do it. Help.
Yeah, that's impressive, man. I don't think I could voluntarily do a fast anymore.
Well, yeah,
Maybe if I hadn't done the Survivor thing, but
yeah, that's a
Well,
long time. That's a lot of weight too. Like I've
yeah.
lost maybe 12 pounds or something, which is a lot, and a lot of it's water weight, but I'm eating then and 7 days later, right? It's not 30 pounds, 35 pounds. That's significant.
it's about a pound a day, they say.
I lost 5 pounds on a 3 day fast. But when I was younger, I was like super broke and like only ate one meal a day. And it was usually ramen with a lot of saltines in it, which is salt inside my salt with white flour inside my white floured noodles. So, but I remember just trying to decide like, what was I going to, was I going to eat lunch or was I going to eat dinner? Right. That was pretty much it. So,
That's like that's a whole different mindset. Like, and that I commend you obviously for having gone through what you went through, but on Survivor, it's a game. It's part of the game of it, and it's in some weird way it's fun. Like, how can I do this? So there's no consequences to it because you're going to eat at some point. But when you're going through it, I'm sure something I haven't experienced that. But if you don't know when the next meal's coming, that's different than it's going to be here in 39 days.
yeah, yeah. Well, it was a few years where I was, everything went towards surviving and, food is the last thing, right?
So
Now we're in it.
what was the change that kind of got you out of that situation?
You know, every year you prayed for a good raise, you know, and I, you know, 1990, you know, 91, you get a raise you get a 50-cent raise on 40 hours. It's, you know, it's $20 a week, tax down. It's, you know, $13, and, you know, $13 extra a week is a lot, like, you know, for me, or was. And, you know, 92 comes around, you get another raise, and it's another, you know, I changed jobs and I actually got like $1 raise. So, you know, then I was getting, you know, 40 extra dollars a week, taxing down to 25. And, you know, I didn't have a car, dude. I was so broke. I don't, I think I was 22 when I got my first car. Like, I walked everywhere. So malnourished, broke, and had to walk everywhere. Anything I was eating, I was burning off. But I just worked, you know, I did it and quit at 24. I started a business and made less money than when I was working. But I think when I was 23, I was making like 28 grand a year, 29 grand a year. That's zero money, right? Uh, no, I just got to do it. No support, no nothing. But, you know, you figure it out. You know, that's the thing. I think adversity is where all of life's best lessons are learned. I think everything needs to be learned the hard way, personally. I don't think we remember the easy stuff. I think we only remember the hard stuff. It takes a conscious memory to remember to appreciate the good things. But that's
Yeah, in Hebrew, I'm Jewish, so in Hebrew, the word for a challenge and the word for a miracle is the same word, NESS. That's because when life gives you a challenge, it brings up miraculous things in us. And so it gets back to the whole never let a crisis go to waste. So I firmly believe that those moments make you the person you are and give you the resiliency and strength
I
to
might
make it
steal
through.
that from you. That's a great line. Never let a crisis go to waste. I mean, it's
Yeah,
amazing.
I could definitely have it. And whenever I've spoken, or when I do speak, I always speak about, I always, you got to kind of laugh at the bad things in order to tell a good story about it, you know, at the end of the day. Um, you know, man, I got plenty of bad things. I didn't go through some of the shit you went through. Like, you literally almost died twice, right? Well, twice as like a period, but every day was a struggle when you were in treatment. Like, if it wasn't for trials, I mean, if it wasn't for the exact thing that V Foundation is trying to fund and do and stand for. And by the way, for anyone listening to this, we keep mentioning the V Foundation. It's Jimmy Valvano, I believe. You know, 100% of their donations go towards funding trials and funding young scientists that have ideas that otherwise would never get funded. And so when I go to these events, that I met Ethan at the V Foundation. So Rich was at my wedding the year before, Ethan, when my
You're
wedding
there.
happened to be during that wine celebration.
Yes, yes.
And then I met Ethan and bought him. I won his auction package. I'll tell that story in a minute. And then we went to Sonoma Epicurean. So when I throw down and buy those items,
You're
I
saving
feel
lives.
I feel good about it. It doesn't bother me. It's an enormous amount of money. The next day, it's, you know, and it takes away from a lot of the other charity work I do. But I don't think there's any other organization that puts 100% of the collected funds towards something that serious. And at Sonoma Epicurean, the theme there was colon cancer. Ethan, you don't listen to the podcast, but Rich, I think for 6 or 8 months, was trying to convince me to go get a colonoscopy.
He had
It
never
was
got me.
only
I'm like,
it
dude,
was only
you
the
have
Sonoma Epicurean event that finally, and you talking at it, that finally convinced me to actually go get it done. So
Thank you, Rich, for suggesting that. And my dad died of colon cancer, so I'm a huge proponent of any form of colon cancer screening. And the stuff now they have, it's like so easy. You know, there's a thing called the Cologuard test, which is 92% effective. You take it at home, you shit in a cup, you send it in, and they give you your results. And for anyone who's at average risk, you know, over the age of 40, I highly, highly suggest getting at least a Cologuard test, if not going for the real one.
yeah. I just wanted to go in and do the right way, do the full thing. And I mean, I was 54 when I had it done. I just think I just had it done in the fall. You know, it's just
And you
one of
lose
those
weight
things.
doing it too. You shit your brains out for 24 hours, so it's great.
it's a good cleanse.
It is a
Yeah,
good plan.
you don't really lose weight. It's just this displacement. But you know, it is what it is. So Ethan, well, no, let's go back to the V Foundation and how the first time I actually met you, and
Okay.
And you
in
bought him.
Napa.
I want to hear about you buying him.
Yeah.
Well, so it's a little bit of a longer story because I think there's a part that Ethan doesn't know. So we get there by the so they give me a room by the pool, Rich, at Villaggio, and I have a second floor room with a balcony that overlooks the Villaggio's vineyard. So I'm up there, we're just getting in, hanging out, and Shannon looks out the back vineyard and she's like, I don't know if I even told you this. She's like, I think that's the survivor dude. I'm like, Ethan's here? She's like, yeah. And I look out and
Okay.
it's Ethan's in a t-shirt, like walking through the vineyard. You're literally right below my room. And so when you come out by the pool to the left, you guys were out there like the first day. And I remember I'm like, oh, he looks really skinny. She's like, babe. I'm like, all right, so that's him. So I saw you in real life for the first
Well,
time ever.
thank you, by the way, because it makes me feel good that I'm skinny. But go on.
Well, what? And I was like, damn, his wife is hot. You tell Lisa.
Yeah.
And then so then they have, instead of giving you goodie bags, it was literally a whole villa that they just had endless shit in, and you just got to go in and like grab what you wanted. And one of the things was they gave you a little wooden check for like $2,000 or something,
$2,500.
2,500 bucks. And there was Steven Singer, who's a baller jeweler out of LA, was there. And I'm up at the case and I'm just like looking around and stuff because I know Shannon won't let me buy anything. And I'm like, well,
Anything for under 2,500.
I had two $2,500 things, but you couldn't put them together. They had to be used individually. So I'm up there and Ethan walks in and comes up. And do you remember me starting a dialogue with you?
I do.
And I don't know how we got on it, but you were like, where are you from? And I was like, oh, dude, like wicked far away as you can get. I go, New Hampshire. And he's like, I'm from New Hampshire. And I was like, you're not from New Hampshire. He goes, no. I go, where? And then you say Peterborough, which is a name that nobody would ever know.
Hillsborough.
Sorry, Hillsborough, which is something no one would ever make up. And then we just ended up shooting the shit, hanging out by the fire, drinking whiskey, smoking a doobie in front of all these old people. And I'm like, well, what are you doing here? And he's like, well, I'm speaking, and one of the auction items is me. I was like, oh, cool. What's the auction item? He's like, you got to read it. It's like in the booklet. So I read the auction item and it's all sorts of stuff. Ton of wine, bunch of trips. And one of the trips is you get to go to Amangiri and Ethan goes with you and you do Survivor in the desert of Amangiri in Utah. And we're shooting the shit and I'm looking at the whole thing and my wife's like, no. I go, what do you mean? She goes, we're not buying that trip. Like, we're not. She's like, that's going to go for too much money. So I'm shooting the shit with Ethan and Lisa goes to bed and Shannon go to bed and we're just down by the fire. And
then that redhead comes up and sits next to me and hikes up her skirt.
The high cut shorts and the lettuce. Yeah. So the next day comes by and we're getting ready and it's the day of the big gala and everything. And I go, well, what do you think your thing's going to go for? What do you think your auction item? So he's never been to the V Foundation. And he's like, well, man, I don't know. He's like, but I'll be embarrassed if it goes for less than 10 grand, I'm not sure this is worth the trip. And I looked at him and I laugh and I go, oh, buddy, are you new?
V Foundation, yeah, this is the
He's
V
like,
Foundation.
yeah, I've now done this. He's like, this is my first time at the V Foundation. I'm like, yeah, I go, I'll tell you what, I'll make sure you get above 10 grand. So we're in the gala. They actually put me with Ethan. So we're actually at the same table for the whole thing. None of it's planned. And Lisa's there. Ethan's on stage for his thing. Now we're in the very back. There's 500 people. We're in the back at a table. And he's on stage. And the bidding opens up at some obscene number, like not 10 grand. And it's right away. So I get in, I'm waiting. And Shannon can tell because I got my paddle in my hand. And I start bidding. And Ethan and I'm bidding. Like everybody that bids, I outbid them like for 15 minutes. So Ethan's on the stage and he comes up and he's like, this is the greatest item ever. Now he's in front of 500 people. He's like, this is great. And then he looks at me and he goes, he's on stage. I'm in there and he goes,
I'm like, you're betting too much. I mean, you're getting whatever you are.
So he backs up, and John Hurley is a savage auctioneer. He's basically in a full body sweat, soaking wet. So he's in a full suit, and it's soaked all the way through. And Ethan is behind him, and every time a board member bids, and I outbid her, and Ethan is back, and he's like, dude, and he's doing this the whole time. So I end up winning the auction item, and they announce my number as the winner. And Ethan jumps off the thing like it's a scene out of the Titanic, and he fucking runs across the entire ballroom and jumps into my arms, and we embrace in this big hug, and the place erupts. And
That's awesome.
so I won the auction item, and so
I
Ethan
want
and
to hear
I and
what
all the
it.
girls.
We have a video of it too. If you, I don't know where this goes, but we could put the video
Oh, that'd
with
be
it if you
awesome.
need to see it.
It is. It's actually on your Instagram, but
It's
you
on the
post a
Instagram.
lot, so you'd have to go pretty far down. I wish you could search on Instagram by like month and year and stuff.
Interesting.
So that's how
I'll
I
send you
met
the link.
Ethan. That's how I
What
meet
does
Ethan.
Survivor in the desert of Amangiri look like? I can't wait to hear what this is going to be.
I mean, I can't let TJ know because it'll be a competitive advantage. One of the fun things I do these days is basically corporate team building events using Survivor as a backdrop. So I took my favorite challenges that happened out there on the show. I kind of shrunk them down a little bit, and then I bring them kind of and do these corporate team building. So it's,
Oh, that's awesome.
communication, overcoming challenges, pushing your comfort zone, relationship building. And it's been pretty fun and successful. So I'm going to be taking my little bag of tricks out to Amangiri
I
to put
love that. That's
TJ
awesome.
through the run.
Yeah. And then Ethan ended up at Sonoma Epicurean, where I bought the NCAA thing, which Ethan is coming to as well. And that's when Ethan got a chance to meet Dylan Runny and B and Dave Manielli and Chelsea. So the 8 of us are going to do the Amangiri trip. I basically just said, if you guys can get out there, you guys can have a room. So
I mean, are you
it
going to
should.
win though, TJ? I mean, are you going to win?
I'm not. It's undetermined what type of games we might play. I've already.
Don't avoid the question. It was a very straightforward
You
question.
said he's a pretty competitive guy.
I'm super competitive. Yeah, ruthlessly competitive. And mean too. But we'll see. We'll see what Ethan comes up with. It depends on what the challenge is. I mean, I got Manieli and Dylan. Dylan's like
Dylan's young.
25 years younger than me. Manieli's like 10
I
years
think I might
younger.
do couples. You want to do a little couples competition? Or do you want solo?
Well, how about one of each?
Okay, okay.
Just so I could go up against Shannon and see what she's like.
Please video all of this.
Right.
It will be
What we should
epic.
do is we should do us individuals and
Yep.
see who gets mad, and then couple back up and see how well we all work together with our.
Actually, tell me when it is, and I'll come out and just be the videographer. Like, I'll video the whole thing. It'll be epic content. Epic.
Rich,
I want you to have to vote off Shannon at some point.
Amangiri is literally in the middle of nowhere in the Utah desert. I think the driveway is like a mile long. So
Now, we were supposed to go. We were supposed to go on a trip. We had it all booked and everything. We had to cancel. It might have been COVID, but anyway, yeah. But I haven't been, but I know of it for sure.
yeah, I've never been. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, it looks fun. Looks really fun. So thank you for that. And obviously, just to circle back on cancer research, like I am the recipient of an experimental new drug that saved my life that was funded by organizations like the V Foundation. So thank you, TJ. And for anyone else who cancer research works, if you're ever wondering where your money's going, it's like inside me. It's like swimming around inside my body.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And quite honestly, I'm thankful I met you. The fact that I tell the joke that I bought my best friend is my best friend because I own him until the end of April is a joke. I'm thankful to have had a chance to run into you at the first V Foundation event. And then I didn't even know you were going to Sonoma Epicurean until kind of a little bit before we were there. And then I got a chance to watch you speak there too, which was actually really cool. So I appreciated that. And, like I said, I wish you'd get the fuck back up here from
I know. Soon.
or wherever you are. But are you going to come back to New Hampshire this summer?
Yeah, we're coming this summer. Yeah, I think we'll be there May, June time.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll hang
You guys
out.
should plan on coming and staying at the house.
Love to. Yeah, would
Yeah.
love to do that.
That would be
And we got to
awesome.
get to Mexico, I guess, right? That's the next place.
Well, you have to wait till we're going to come back next January. Well, TJ's still, I mean, I've invited him 300 times, but he says I haven't invited him. But
I'm too busy. My sabbatical is very
Well,
busy.
tell him it's an auction item for the V Foundation. It's
exactly,
$100,000, and then he'll show up
But
next
it's
day.
January, February, and March. So we're leaving in a couple weeks. Actually, I'll see TJ in Vegas, but maybe next year. I mean, we do a Temazcal here, like a sweat lodge with the shaman. I mean, it's super relaxing, super relaxing.
Yeah, but you do leadership retreats and stuff like that.
Yeah, we had a leadership retreat down here, which is great. I mean, we should talk, Ethan. I might bring you in for some team building or something. And we did like some sound healing. We did Temescal, which is a sweat lodge, there's a shaman. I mean, just doing different experiences to open people up to, usually they're leaders, business leaders, entrepreneurs, but to open them up to thinking differently. And we did it in January, which is obviously always a good time because you're coming into a new year.
That's
I don't
great.
want to. I don't want to forget the auction item thing. I want to come back to that. But Rich, do you guys do any psychedelic treatments or psychedelic anything down there with the guys?
Not on the leadership retreat we did not, but you can, and I have before, and I'm going to continue to do that. Yeah, but you
Great.
can with a
Yeah.
shaman, like guided trips, for a purpose.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah. Ethan, you bring up an interesting thing. Like maybe we talk to Max Dooley because Max keeps wanting. So Max runs, I believe, the events for. Probably have his card right here. Actually, Max runs the events for the V Foundation, but Max has been wanting to do an auction item. He's like, "We'll do an auction item that includes like hanging out with you and Shannon." And I'm like, "I'm pretty sure none of these people, after watching us, want to hang out with us." But
maybe
it would.
Shannon, but not you.
Okay. So what I was going to say is an idea. Now I don't like the idea, but we should talk to Max about the Zons and the Aubreys, like 3 days or 4 days in Mexico. And we should get a random couple with the V Foundation that wants to come take a walk on the fun side. By the way, Rich, at these events, it's like 108 top tables. And I promise you, at every event, we are number one. Like, we are number one. We literally light the place up when it gets quiet. Like we are that table at these events. But Ethan, that might not be a bad idea actually, is coordinate something like, not to volunteer Rich's spot, but like January, February, March, like have a couple that's involved with the V Foundation throw down and then have
It's raising money for charity, 100%. We could
yeah,
work it out.
yeah.
We've got space here, and
You
that's
could host three couples, like me and Ethan and the girls and then another couple.
100%. We could host you in the town hall right here, which is 3 bedroom.
Oh, fun.
What do you think of that, Ethan?
Yeah, I would love that. I'm open to that. I mean, it takes a certain type of person that would want to hang out with four strangers, but
We're not strangers, dude. We've the two events we've been at are all
well, we're
regular.
not strangers, but whoever shows up with us is a stranger.
No. We've been to enough V Foundation events that, first of all, everyone knows who you are, and anyone that's been to an event in the last 3 years, there's no way they don't know who Shannon and I are. So maybe I'll call Max about that. That might not be a bad idea, Rich. That would actually get me to Mexico.
That'd be great. No, we can absolutely talk about it. I mean,
Okay.
and then right
All right.
on property here is the Temescal, the sweat lodge, which is nice. And so anyway,
We
Yeah,
could
it could be
all
like
semi wellness retreat.
yes, that's it. Yeah, like choose your own adventure once you get there.
yep.
Love that,
That'd be
actually.
fun.
Ethan, I think that's a great idea. I'm not sure I'm going to do it now that you said that people like my wife instead of me, but that's okay. I get that a lot. That's fine. I feel like if anything ever happened, everyone would go like, "What'd you do?" I'm like, "Wait, I've been friends with you for 25 years." Yeah, I know. That's why I'm asking. What'd you do? What did you do?
What'd you say? What'd you say?
Right.
My kids would be mad. So, Ethan, any questions for Rich and I while you have us? I appreciate the time, but I feel like we've been grilling you the entire
Yeah,
time.
total grill. I mean, I don't know who's listened to the podcast before. Like, I'm not too familiar with the work that you do, but I just because we were talking about Survivor so much, I feel inclined to know like how you see like the business world interacting with the Survivor world, or just kind of that type of community. And do you think it's a positive or a negative? Like, do you see that happening now in the business world? Is it like a more competitive, cutthroat type situation, or is it more like communal, work together, partnership situation?
Man, that is such a good question. Rich, you want to give a minute or two on that? Because I know that you have a line there and I have a little different perspective.
Yeah, I think what you said earlier, Ethan, about relationships, alliances. I mean, I couldn't agree more. And I think that absolutely fits in with business. Like I have a book coming out end of August, early September that's called Life is Sales, a holistic approach to sales, self-discovery, and living a life of purpose. So, I mean, I'm right with you. Like, uh, how is how is life not about relationships and alliances? And a lot of people, because we were in the same industry, a lot of people were very shocked that TJ and I are friends. And that just goes to show you one side of what I'll call business, that, you can't be friends with a competitor or this or that. And we were always friends. And since we met, and we're both fathers, and so we were absolutely related on a number of different levels, but people couldn't understand that. Like, wait, you're competing? How could you be friends? So I think that was a very surprising thing for some people. But I do think, to your question, 100%. Like, I built my business on relationships. And that was, not just sales, right? But also alliances, also partnerships, all of that. Like, that's how I built the business. And TJ mentioned it earlier. Like, I always had this term co-opetition, right? You
Love that.
cooperate, but you also compete. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm super competitive. I want to win every deal. But if TJ beats me, good for him. I'm going to call him and say, you fucker, you fucking beat me, right? But there's a lot of business to go around. Like, we don't have to like hate on each other. Like, oh, I can't talk to him. I mean, so I agree. I think, life is about relationships, right? And it doesn't mean you have to be an ass to someone because they beat you. There's a lot of business out
Yeah. I firmly believe, yeah. I mean, like I said, Survivor's a game of relationships. It
there.
really
Yeah.
is.
No, I think
And
you're
so is life.
right on. Yeah.
That's good. I'm excited for your book, Life is Sales. Like, I don't know what the book's about. However, yeah, I mean, I've basically been trying to sell myself for 20 years to keep, keep in the fold here, but it's all about relationships. It's
Yeah,
how,
100%.
who do you know? Like, it's how you interact with the other players that determines how well and how far you'll go in the game. And that applies to life as well, I think.
Yeah,
The game
absolutely.
of
Yeah,
life.
it's more my story. So it's kind of my story from like being an engineer, an undergrad, and then coming up and then becoming a salesperson and starting my own business. So it's more about my social emotional intelligence growth, but also my change in how I view life and relationships, right? In the beginning, you asked me about sales when I was a younger kid, I'd be like, oh, that's beneath me. And now I'm like, life is sales. Everything's about sales, right?
Yeah. Wow. Good. Congrats, man. I'm excited. TJ, what do you have to say about that?
How is business life like Survivor and the network there? I mean, I've been a Survivor fan forever. I don't watch it as much anymore. I do watch it, but I tend to fast forward through the middle. And when I say middle, I mean like the middle 10 episodes. Because there's a lot of juvenile drama. I think Rich hit on something interesting, and so did you. So I think we're always being watched. I think that we aren't judged by how we treat people directly, but how people observe us treating other people directly and indirectly. So, a lot like Rich said, when I was younger, I was a very different person. Like, I grew up in an era of yelling and aggression, and the boss was the boss, and he had the nice things and he had the control, and I'm sure there's a word for it, but in the second half of my career, I learned that it was more about the long game and more about relationships and more about treating everybody the way they deserve to be treated, because not everybody actually deserves the type of attention that I'm capable of giving somebody. I know that sounds weird, but not everybody deserves that. Some people haven't earned that yet. And I think in this era, a lot like Survivor, and what I'm observing lately, it can be a little clicky, right? You got the new school and the old school, and is the old lion still worthy? Can he run? Can he jump? Can he do all the things that all these new school folks can do? And I think that that's just a maturity and sort of a positional thing. So for me, it's all about relationships, and it's all about the long game, and it's all about, like, Rich and I say, if just one person can listen to what we're saying today and it changes their day, then this was worth the hour and a half for the three of us, right? I'm not trying to change the world. I'm just trying to spark something in somebody. But I think we do have to be careful, because just like the game, there are people out there that don't understand the rules of sport. And that being that on the field, we are warriors and enemies. And off the field, we are three humans that put our pants on and put our shirts on the same way. And I don't think people can kind of draw that distinction, that on the field, it's a different game and we can go after each other, respectfully speaking, but we can compete and we can have that spirit in us, but when we show up to the same social event, we're all just people, right? And we have a lot to teach. I think if I had one message for the younger generation of entrepreneurs and business people, it's that you'll never learn more from somebody than you'll learn from somebody like Rich and I, a half-hour conversation at a bar or at a social event, or we're going to be at Shark Talk in a couple of weeks at one of these sort of hallway meetups we might have. You just can't get 30 years worth of wisdom from somebody that you adore that's been doing something for 5 years like you have. It just isn't there. And sometimes it's hard to understand the value and power of that perspective. And I think what we're seeing right now in our industry as well is there's a lot of new school people coming in thinking that they don't need that wisdom and they don't need that support and they don't need that relationship and that network and that camaraderie. And, I can speak for Rich. We felt you the same way you do when we were your age. And I think we all learned the hard way that that's actually how you get by is you got to play the long game. And, like Survivor, when you got to wake up and go to bed with somebody every day and play hard to win, but support them when you're not playing hard, you know, that's a context switch that a lot of people spend a lifetime trying to figure out.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I love what you just said, man. Yeah, I mean, on Survivor, one of my strategies was to be a crucial member of the community, crucial to everyone else's survival. So without me, they would struggle, right? So if you can position yourself that in a community environment where everyone needs you for something in some way, then there's more chance that they're going to keep you around. Whether that's manipulative or whatnot, I think that holds true to what's happening in the world. I also am curious to understand, like, when you're talking about partnerships, alliances, when you have to determine, how do you evaluate the alliances you want to get into, and like where do you place the weight in terms of, I really like this guy, the business kind of sucks, do I want to get into business with the guy, or like his business is booming but he's a complete jerk off, like, so there's probably a barometer for you guys. So like, how do you initiate an alliance, and how do you kind of determine who you want to be in that alliance with you, or do you
Yeah,
not
that's
think that way?
yeah, that's actually an amazing question. So for me, it's a vibe. Like my bullshit meter is pretty exceptional. And it's not that you can't get past it, but like over time, I figure it out in time being two conversations or one good conversation. I also do what I call, which I never told out loud, I also do what I call trust tests. So, what I will do is in the conversation where I'm evaluating whether they realize it or not, whether this is somebody I want to have some level of an alliance or relationship with, I give them these little micro trust tests to see how they respond and
Really?
how they do. And they're imperceptible to the people I'm working with and talking with. They seem like very benign things, but they're not. They're the requests and collaborations and comments that I purposefully make to see how they respond or how quickly they respond or how professionally they respond, through a dialogue and a few sort of imperceptible trust tests, I generally can figure something out. And if they get through that, then I give them a real chance. And that doesn't need to be successful, but it has to be ethically completed. Right. So I've been in a lot of alliances where people love to talk and love to profess and love to promise, but don't like to deliver. So I can take a failure as long as it feels like it's, done in the right way. Mistakes are mistakes. They are what they are. Alliances are complicated when it's one person representing multiple people, right? Because they have to rely on people. But the second time it happens, I'm pretty much in a straight immediate divorce, and I back out. And you're only as good as your word, and you're only as good as your follow through. And I give I give more than one chance. But these trust tests are really the big thing for me that I do. These sort of imperceivable things that I do almost sometimes just during casual conversation.
And that's how you determine, do you think you're setting people up for failure on purpose to see if they'll make it through, or do you think it's a good evaluation, your trust test?
Yeah, no, I'm not setting them up for anything. I want to get a reaction or a response and in a visceral way because when I'm all in with somebody on a relationship, my trust and my support is unwavering, and I have to feel good about that, right? So it's not about being mean or trying to set them up for failure or anything like that. It's about, this person at some point while we're collaborating is going to be in a compromised situation, and it's going to be stressful and it's going to be weird, and they're going to have to make decisions on the fly, and they're going to have to react on the fly. And I want to make sure that I know where these people's heads and their hearts are at, because when I'm doing $1 million deal and one link in the chain fails me in a way that compromises my word, right? Because if I vouch for you and you fuck me, then I'm fucked, right? Because there's a ripple effect there. And once that rock hits the water. So, no, I don't do it for anything. Listen, anybody that comes and talks to me, Rich knows this. I'm the friendliest, most helpful person you could possibly imagine. Like, if somebody comes to me and literally wants help or wants to collaborate or wants to get something done, I'm down, fee or free. I don't care. Like, I'm just out there to do good things and pay it forward, because somebody did that. A lot of somebodies did that to me when I was a little shit. And, they gave me a chance to make mistakes, and how I reacted to those problems I created for myself determined whether or not I was going to get another opportunity. And I owe it to the lineage that brought me through all of that as a kid to do that as an adult for others. I feel that way. I feel like I have to pay that forward. Sorry, that was a long answer.
Oh, good. That's fascinating.
Good.
And I love just how other people engage in business and relationships. It's fascinating. It's helpful.
Yeah, I would say a lot of the same things. I mean, but some same, some different, right? Like I definitely am probably choose to be a little too trusting on purpose. Like I think I started for a while. I was kind of, when I was younger, the glass was half empty kind of guy, and I strategically chose to, to change my life view that, the glass is half full, and I'm going to trust people until they prove me otherwise. That I'm going to basically bigger decision, right? I'm going to trust in life, and I'm going to trust in people because I think people are inherently good. And if they fuck me, well, like TJ said, then you're going to end the relationship. But I'm choosing to trust people first off, right? Just because I don't want to live the other way. Even though I have been burned and things like that, like I'm a big boy, I can handle being burned and I can handle my feelings about that and move on. So I think that's a big part of when I say alliances and partnerships. And then secondly, I think it has to be mutual. I mean, a lot of people would come to me, especially after you get successful. Like you have a big business and you have a lot of customers, and then someone wants to be your partner, of course. So what does that mean to them? They want access to all your customers. And
Right.
that's a partnership. And I think the same way when TJ and I talked about Demandware, when we went to Demandware, like, of course we wanted them to give us leads, but what were we giving back? Right. And so I think, I always said, let's get a customer together. Like, cause everyone wants to sign paperwork. Hey, let's sign paperwork and we'll be a partner. Like, let's formalize. And I'm like, why? Like, let's find a customer. And if we can serve that customer and they're really happy and we have a case study, then we can have a partnership and I'll sign whatever paperwork. But then we have a happy customer that we can then create a honeypot and go do this over and over, like rinse and repeat, let's take this and do it again. That's a partnership. It's good for both of us. So I think a lot of it is intentions, and I agree with TJ as well. Like I kind of had that gut check with people. Like when we used to hire people in the early days, we would take someone out to dinner. And this was when it gets to the last part. Dave and I would take someone out to dinner, last check, and everyone they look good on paper, and this is the perfect hire, and we tested them or whatever, perfect person, and you take them out to dinner or even lunch, I don't care, and they'd have a glass of wine or whatever, and they would just start throwing up all over themselves. I mean, you wouldn't believe how many times that happened. Like in here, like I'm the, CEO and here's the co-founder and you're with us and I'm hiring you to represent me. My name's on the fucking wall and you are saying shit you should never say to me. So I can never put you in front of a customer
Right. Yeah.
ever. Because you're representing me, and that's what you said too, TJ. It's like, hey, listen, like I want to be 100% referenceable, and I would tell everyone in my company that it's kind of impossible, but I want to be 100% referenceable, and that's not just with customers. That's with every interaction we have, even if we lose that deal. TJ wins it, we lose it, someone still says we had a good experience there. Even though we didn't select them, they had a good experience with us, right? So I held a really high standard. And to me, that's what a partnership and alliance should be. So
I like that.
Referenceable is a good term. I like that. 100% referenceable. Never
yeah,
heard that. That's great.
I loved the bring them out to dinner thing. My whole dinner tell was anybody that orders the most expensive thing on the menu when we bring them out to dinner, then in $50 bourbons, which by the way has happened. But Ethan, I'm also. It's kind of funny because I read the book years after I started sort of realizing I did it. But the 4 agreements and the 5th agreement, like those are. Have you ever read the book, The 4 Agreements? So it's an interesting thing. And then he came out with a book called The 5th Agreement. And the 5th agreement is be skeptical, but learn to listen. And I've always been skeptical because I've always had people take advantage of me. I always wanted to trust, but I'm always skeptical, but I'll always listen. And the 4 agreements are like, be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions, always do your best. And then he did another book called The 5th Agreement, which was be skeptical, but learn to listen. I try and follow all 5 of those, and I try not to be offended, try not to take things personally. I'm very easily, that happens to me from time to time, but I also try not to make assumptions. I read something that said, there's millions of trees in the forest and not one of them grows like the other, but they're all trees. So, I think when you can learn to embrace the complexity in the fabric of a forest, then you start to embrace the complexities in the fabric of humanity. And, I'm still trying, to be honest. So I'm a dank sometimes. You haven't seen it. You haven't seen
I
it,
haven't
Ethan.
seen it being dank, but I'm looking forward to it.
You won't ever, unless you have a shitty challenge that allows my wife to gain advantage on me at Amangiri in the desert. And then, no, that'll be fine. I don't care. It's all good. Well, Ethan, listen, we're coming up on hour 40 here.
Wow. Holy moly. It was fun.
Don't hang up after we're done here. But
it's been so fun talking. Like, thanks.
dude, I appreciate. I've been wanting to do this for a while. I can't believe I only asked you a few weeks ago, but dude, your story's amazing. I'm glad I met you. I'm glad I get to call you a true friend. I'm going to see you in a couple of weeks. I'll see you down in San Antonio and out in Amangiri. But thanks for taking the time, and thanks for letting me ask stories, kind of really about your whole kind of adult life. Quite frankly, I know a lot of those stories are very personal, and we appreciate you sharing today. So thanks, bud.
Thank you for having me. I love talking about myself, clearly. So it's been a pleasure. So I appreciate you giving me the 2-hour time slot.
I'll see you in a couple of weeks, bud.
All right. Later.
Bye-bye.